Hey, what's going on, guys? So today I'm just going over this little knife. I gave you guys a little teaser in a previous video when I did my trade, and I want to talk about it a little bit more in detail. So this is a knife from EdgeCo. EdgeCo, I don't believe exists anymore. I know they had a lot of problems. They sold a ton of different automatic knives, gravity knives. Actually, they sold a bunch of knife parts as well. And from my understanding, and I heard this years ago, I just vaguely remember the story, but when the customs laws changed and made it harder to import stuff into the US, I think at that point they were still sending stuff to Canada for a while. But ultimately, I think that they just ceased to exist, which is unfortunate because they were a big part of, the 80s and 90s as far as the knife industry goes. Tons and tons of different models of knives. I believe I still have their Eagle gravity knife. I think that's from EdgeCo. I had their top automatics, like some side opening OTFs that were like, all ABS plastic, just some really cool stuff. But anyway, so this knife is a little bit interesting. This is not an automatic knife. It's a manual knife. You can see that there's a separate piece that's on the bottom, and when you pull it, it opens. How cool is that? So it's not actually automatic. That's how you close it, push it in. Now I wish I had like a schematic to really show you the inside here, but there was a bar that's obviously attached here, okay, which manipulates the back of the tang, okay? So obviously when you push it in, I'll try to do this slowly. As you're pushing it in, it's pushing notches on the back of the blade. All right, same thing when you're pulling it out, it's pulling on the back, which is rotating the blade around the pivot, all right? But super cool. I mean, you take this little guy out of your pocket, just pull it back, and there's a lanyard hole on here. More times than not, you'd put a lanyard on here because it's difficult and kind of awkward to just grab this little piece. So they actually have another knife that I believe was, I want to say it was, I don't know, sent to Mexico. It has something to do with Mexico. I vaguely remember this had a wood handle. I had one in the 90s. I wish I still had that guy. I might have to look for one again so I can do a video on it, but I know that was EdgeCo as well. And they had a similar design, but you didn't see this mechanism. In other words, the whole thing didn't pull out. Basically, on the wood handle, there was a little exposed lanyard hole that was on a piece of metal. When you pulled that, like you pulled the whole lanyard, and the blade would open the same exact fashion. So it's the same mechanism. That was a much larger knife, though. But yeah, I mean, these were kind of somewhat common in the 80s and 90s. I had one of these, I don't know, 2 or 3 times before the 2000s hit. And what's interesting is that I saw this message from someone on Instagram. They sent me a picture of this and they're like, what knife is this? And I'm like, oh, is that an EdgeCo? I believe they had a different brand, but it was the same mechanism. So I'm not sure if it was a copy or whatever, but just by total chance, I got this one in trade literally like a day later. I sent the person a message back, and that's when I said, I showed pictures of this, and like it was yours an EdgeCo. So if I come in on the little tang here, you can see EdgeCo, Italy on one side, and the other side is blank. All right, so short little clip point blade here. All right, it's pretty nice. I mean, this one's not super sharp, as a lot of these older knives aren't. Of course, you can sharpen up, so they're very functional. The only thing, obviously, is that this sticking out when it's open, that's what it is. If you don't like it, that's kind of oh well. These type of knives I play with a lot. I didn't cut a whole bunch of stuff when I had these, in the past. Now, something else to mention is that, when I was a kid, automatic knives were just something you just couldn't obtain very easily, and there was more laws back then even, and especially, I grew up in New Jersey, so you couldn't have automatic knives, you know what I mean? I had a couple here and there, that I acquired from people, but it was a big no-no, so knives that were not really automatic, but kind of like functioned quickly, they opened quickly like they're automatic, like something like this, was just super cool. I remember when Kershaw came out with Speed Assist. It was the first assisted knife, at least from a main manufacturer. Obviously, it was massively copied immediately. Assisted knives, when they first came out, were amazing. Now, I know a lot of times, today, if you get into knives in the last couple of years, you're like, assisted knives, whatever. Because you can just go out and get automatic knives. They're way more accessible than they used to be. But assisted knives would have been like, it's like you're cheating the system because you can't have an automatic, but this is not automatic. You know what I mean? It was the coolest thing in the world. Some of you guys are old enough to remember that. But yeah, anyway, little EdgeCo knife. Now, I don't recall offhand the name of this specific one, but I do know that there was like a dozen different names for this. Most of them were made up. If you know the name of this, you can, of course, comment down below. I'll edit it into the title, but specifically like what EdgeCo called this, I do not remember. But these things are super cool. And this is, of course, going back into my unique knife mechanism collection. That's why I wanted it. But yeah, just an interesting little piece of knife history. EdgeCo, just real shame that you just don't see their stuff like you used to. I'm sure there's plenty of it floating around here and there. But as far as the automatics, it's hard because you can't go on eBay, and buy automatics. At least, some of them go under the radar, and I guess they make it through auctions. But for the most part, it's just not allowed. So a lot of times when you buy these vintage automatics and gravity knives and all this different stuff, it's peer-to-peer. You have to get lucky enough to kind of find it on like a Facebook group page, or somewhere online where there's a lot of trading and selling going on, But anyway, that's all. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.